Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Always Level Up the podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Garcia, and this is where we share stories on how my guests have leveled up in business, health, relationships, and knowledge. Today, my guest is JD Flores. JD is a leader, husband, father, musician, real estate top producer, and he is the general manager of New Western Acquisitions Northeast team. He has experienced an impressive journey to get to this point in his life, and I'm excited to have him as a guest on the show today. JD has continued to always level up, and he has some great nuggets that he's going to share with you. I'm really looking forward to this, so it's going to be a great show, and let's get right into it. All right. JD Flores in the house today, my man, my brother. Glad to have you on the show.
Yes, sir.
Taking time away from the family and, to come and meet with us and share some of your experience and what's helped you grow and level up. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, JD.
Sure. Well, hey, everyone. My name's JD Flores. Currently, I'm a general manager here at New Western Acquisitions in San Antonio, Texas. I help manage and coach and lead our Northeast team. I've been in the business a little over 8.5 years now. My 9-year anniversary will be this coming November. I'm a warrior at heart. I bleed black and gold, and I love to see other people have the same opportunity that I was given.
Awesome. Yeah. Great guy, great leader. I mean, I can vouch for all of that. I've worked with JD along the journey. So, but it wasn't always that way. JD has humble beginnings, and I think it's important to know where we start, because a lot of times people get caught up in where you're at and they compare, but a lot of times they don't see. I mean, pretty much the majority of the time they never see the struggle. They never see where you started off, where you put your first foot forward, and how you began to level up. So I think it's cool for me to have seen and watched that experience happen and that process take place. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the time before you found your passion in real estate. You were a musician, right? You had a dream to be a musician. What was that like? What was that experience like?
Oh man, I think everyone sometime in their life either wants to be famous or somehow make a lot of money by not working. Right? Don't get me wrong. It's certainly you got to put in a lot of work and effort to make those dreams come true. But growing up, I just loved music. My mom got me into watching Ed McMahon's what was it called? Back in the day, I can't remember, but Ed McMahon was the host, and there was this show. Star Search.
Oh, Star Search.
Star Search.
Kind of like American Idol.
A little bit. For the older generation, Star Search, yeah. And but kind of like American Idol, more like America's Got Talent, because they would do dancing, music, whatever. Watching Star Search, I actually went to SeaWorld, and I got to watch the Spooky Kooky Castle. It was the Sea Lion show, and I watched the mime perform at the Sea Lion show, and it blew my mind. At that moment in time, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. I knew I wanted to be some type of musician or actor or somewhere in that radio, television, film, or arts kind of field. And as I got older, my passion for music grew, and I eventually, out of high school, dropped out my freshman year in college to join a band and start touring.
Nice.
And I go back to that moment and those few years of my life, and it was probably the most fun I've ever had. Just being on the road with your best friends, playing gigs at these.
What's the band name?
Oh, we're gonna go a little emo here, but we were called Moments in Tragedy. We started touring, making a name for ourselves, and something that I learned about being in the band and being a musician that I now can look back on and realize that why it may have not have happen the way we all wanted to is because we didn't have the desire or commitment to stay consistent and keep pushing forward.
Right.
There was a group that is still a band to this day that went to high school with us, and they're multimillionaires.
They stuck with it.
They stuck with it. They stuck with it. I mean, they've been a band since I want to say about 2001. So you go from 2001 to 2021. I mean, 22 years of just rocking out and playing music. But
their passion,
right?
What were some of the challenges that you experienced with it?
Man, a big challenge when I look back on is just, it's really hard to do anything with three of your best friends, whether that's, working on a school project or trying to write a song,
right.
And you're always kind of going to butt heads in a way.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest challenging part to actually sticking with music was having everybody on board.
Right.
100% in, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. When I look back, there were a couple guys, unfortunately, that had other priorities and things that were set in place, like going to college, actually going for a career, not just, traveling and trying to make music and, get girls.
Right.
That was the
fun stuff, right?
The fun stuff, yeah. But if I had to answer that, Los, it would be just finding the true commitment and passion with everyone, not just myself in the music industry.
So after you learned that, what actions did you take? What did you do?
Man, I'd say the actions I took were to take it upon myself with the other most committed bandmate of mine. His name's Steven Morfin.
Oh, yeah, I know Steven.
You know Steve? Stevie Dollars.
Great guy.
Good guy.
Love that guy.
But Steven and I actually recorded 2 albums together after the band album. And we try to keep it going as much as we could. We still love music till this day. But, unfortunately, to make a living playing music, you've almost got to know Snoop Dogg's uncle's cousin's brother.
Yeah.
You got to know a lot of people in the industry or someone to kind of get your foot and name out there.
Right. So how long did y'all stick with that before you made a decision like, hey, we're gonna move on to something?
We were a band for about almost 5 years. So it was about 5 years.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, sometimes things change and you have to move on to something else. So what did you do after music? What happened there?
So after music, ended up coming back home to San Antonio. I told my parents, hey, I'm going to get back into school. I'm going to go and finish my freshman year of college, and I'm going to get my associates, and then I'm going to try to go to UTSA because I was at SAC.
Right.
Try to go to UTSA or maybe even somewhere else, I don't know, and get my degree. And once I was back in San Antonio, I got lost in the bartending world. Before I know it, I'm a year deep in bartending and not in school. And I never went back to school. I was so enthralled and overtaken by the fast life and the fast cash and just the fun of it as well. It was almost like I was a musician again because I had the stage. And that was behind the bar.
Right. You had their attention.
I had their attention.
Kept the party going, right?
Kept the party going. And I got to play the music I wanted on the jukebox, so that was cool too. Yeah.
So what challenges came with the bartending world? I think that's
a lot of challenges. For one, alcohol. It's present. There are a lot of bartenders like myself who would be drinking on the job, which is not smart. You can get in trouble with TABC.
Right.
But it was just the long nights. I'd get to work at either 8 p.m. or 10 p.m.
Right.
And I wouldn't leave till about 3:30 or 4 a.m. every night. Had to clean up the bar, restock, and then, get ready for the next day. So my sleep schedule, I was getting to bed about 4:30, 5 a.m. and waking up around 12 or 1 o'clock. I would eat kind of a late lunch, let my food settle, then I'd go to the gym. And then it was come back home, take a nap, and then I'd be at the bar again. But the challenges really for me, I think, were just the inadequate sleep and kind of normal hours, if you will.
Right.
You know, a lot of my friends who had regular jobs were going to bed at 10 or 11, and I was just getting started.
Yeah. And that your days sounds like they weren't really productive because you were sleeping, resting up for the night to come.
Right. They're flip-flopped.
They're flip-flopped.
Yeah.
So it sounds like not much, I guess, productivity was able to, come out of, working those hours.
Right.
So at what point did you feel like it was time for a change there? What happened? Like how long did that last? What happened during that period?
Excuse me. So I was I bartended a little over 6 years, and it wasn't until about almost right at the 6th year to almost the 6.5 years, right at the 6-year mark, had a buddy of mine who was bringing another buddy of his into the bar, who happened to be working at New Western, working with New Western at the time, or working in the investment real estate world.
Right.
And he really loved my energy. Thought I was so awesome behind the bar, so goofy, funny, outgoing. He just thought, oh man, you'd be a great salesman. Why don't you come and talk to me? Yeah. So I actually met this individual at Stoneworks.
Oh yeah.
A couple weeks later on a Saturday, and we talked about the investment real estate side of things and what it all entails. And that was Saturday. Well, that following Monday, 2 days later, I had an interview with the company, and I ended up jumping on. But in order to jump on with the company, I needed to get my real estate license. And if the next question is what challenges,
what challenges came with that?
Well, for one, ADHD is I have I've never been a good test taker, much less very good in school. My mind's always wandering to the next thing, what I could be doing here or there. And I actually signed up for the real estate test 8 times. I took it 6 times, failed 6 times, and was able to pass on, I actually failed 5 times, was able to pass on my 6th time. If you're wondering why I paid for it 8 times, it's because 2 of the times I actually showed up for the wrong time. Just terrible. But after passing my real estate license, I was able to finally, get some confidence and some credibility behind my name. Now I'm a licensed real estate agent in the city of San Antonio in the state of Texas. I can do something now.
Right.
And I think that's what really kind of pushed me over the edge to leave the bartending world.
Right. And so once you got your license and you're like, hey, well, here's a change, right? You're ready to, let the bartending gig go, or did you stick with it? How did that transition happen?
Yeah. So, I actually stuck with the bartending job, trying to, because in the real estate world, a lot of it's 1099 contracting work where you're only making money off of production. Yeah. If you're not producing or you're not buying or selling, you're usually not getting a paycheck. So a lot of people getting into the investment real estate world have to kind of juggle a job or two while transitioning. Right. So I did stick with bartending for a while, but it didn't last long. I was there for about 6 months. They noticed I slowly started taking shifts off, slowly started, not committing to certain shifts. And I actually got a call. I'll never forget. It was September 12th, 2012. I get a call, and I remember that date so vividly because it was the day after one of the anniversaries for 9/11, and it was a Tuesday. And I get a call on September 12th, 2012, and they let me know, hey, JD, thank you for everything you've done with this bar. You've been amazing, but we're going to let you go. And I was shocked. I was shooketh.
You felt a little sting?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was everything I knew for the past six and a half years. It was the only way for me to make money. Right. The only way for me to pay my rent. The only way for me to get by and still have a life and have fun. And having that kind of taken away at that time was devastating. But thank goodness I have a strong, optimistic mindset, because I knew what I had already been working on, and that was my real estate license, and that was my opportunity with New Western. And I ended up just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go all in. I'm 100%, 110% all in. And I can completely transition my focus onto the investment real estate world. And I just started taking off.
So how was that experience? You get let go, like, hey, I'm all in. Did things change overnight? Was there a struggle that went through that you had to go through? How did you get to the first level up?
Man, so there was a very big struggle. I left the bartending world with about $12,000 in my bank account. And unfortunately, I also left the bartending world acting like I was still bartending. So I kept living the life of as if I was making money. Right. Before I knew it, about 3.5 months had gone by, and I was down to a measly $1,000. I mean, that quick, I burned through money. And maybe it was almost like a coping type of thing. Like, I'm just going to spend money and act like everything's fine, even though I'm mentally depressed and anxious and stressed. And, I dwindled down. I was so broke that I was literally driving to Jack in the Box almost every single day, just to get 2 99-cent tacos and a cup of water, just to
wash it down,
to stay full and wash it down, man. Jack in the Box tap water, baby. But the struggle was real. I knew that the opportunity in front of me was real as well, though. And I knew that if I stuck with it and eventually put everything I had into it, it would come back tenfold. So I was actually, able to get the ball rolling, thank God, with the investment real estate world.
So it sounds like, you went all in, you went through the struggle, and, you got to a point to where, like, hey, I need to make something happen, and kind of survival instincts kicked in, right? And you go to work, and, what did that first sell feel like, and then the next, and how did your mind just shift to keep it going and not even, think about, that struggle that you had experienced, but shift to, what you wanted, and how did that start to impact your life?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things that I immediately noticed upon joining the investment group was that there were other successful people in the same room that I was in. And, this doesn't require you to be 6'5" and dunk a basketball. Right. I was seeing other guys just as goofy as me making a lot of money. And it was because they were working really hard, and they were dedicated, and they were consistent. Right. And I just started mimicking them. I started listening. I started asking every question known to mankind. There is no dumb question in my book. If you don't know something, you got to ask.
Right, exactly.
So I kept asking and just trying to pick up on little things. And eventually that first sale came. I mentioned I got fired in September 2012. My first sale came in December 2012. My second sale didn't come until February 2013. So I almost went a good month and a half without that second sale. But having that first one, it gives you all the confidence in the world, because you can do something at that point.
That's right.
Then it just required more discipline and knowledge, and putting myself out there to be known, making myself known upon the investors in San Antonio, making myself available as well. I always tell people, you've got to really engage with people. You've got to be the one to go up to them. They will not come to you. You've got to put yourself out there. That's right.
And how challenging was it when it came to doing something different? Like, the things before you get into real estate were music, bartending, and now it's investment real estate. So this is something totally different. This is not what you were doing, and I'm sure you had to get out of your comfort zone at some point. So what was challenging about that, and you know, how did you figure it out just to keep going?
You know, the one thing I knew that all coincided with real estate, from music to bartending, was people.
Right.
And the relationship aspect of everything that goes into real estate, especially investment real estate. You know, people want to be listened to, they want to be helped, they want to be cared for, and they want to feel important. And you have to do a good job of following up and making sure that you are truly on their side and trying to make them, you know, some money if you can. Right. But I would say the biggest challenge or adversity I had from transitioning over into the investment real estate world was just the product knowledge. Not knowing the only thing I knew about real estate coming into investment real estate was that people could buy a house or sell a house.
Right.
That's all I knew.
Make a little money on it.
Yeah. I mean, I was as green as a green bean. I had no idea. But, you know, I always preach this to this day, is that, you know, investment real estate, or real estate really in general, is 20% product knowledge. The other 80% is relationships and people.
Right.
And I hold that dear to my heart, because you have to really build good relationships with people, not just outside of work, but within your team and workplace too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's good. It's great stuff. When was your first, or when was your first like major level up where you're like, man, all right, I'm making it. Like, things are happening. I feel great about where I'm at. Like, man, all right, I'm in it to win it.
Man, so my first level up, I truly believe, is when I was actually in the top 5 nationwide for new Western acquisitions. On the acquisition side, when I was actually purchasing for the company.
Oh, nice.
So my first year as an acquisition agent, I finished number 8 in the company. And at the time, the company only acknowledged the top 5.
Right.
And I thought, man, I was so close. It wasn't even in my mind that year to try to be in the top 5. I was just trying to do my best.
Right.
And at the end of the year, when I realized, whoa, I was only 3 away from being in the top 5, my mindset changed to the following year. And in fact, at the end of that year, when I finished number 8, I went up to one of the owners in the company at the end of the top 5 annual award conference we have. And I went up to him on stage. He was packing up the mics, you know, he was shutting the stage down. And I went up there and I said, hey, you know, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be on the stage next year. I'm going to be in the top 5. He kind of looked at me and was like, okay, man, let's see it.
Yeah.
And
that's big, man. You're making a commitment right there to the owner, to
yeah, I wanted some accountability.
Right.
And you know, sure enough, that following year, I made it in the top 5. And some of probably one of the coolest experiences I ever had with that was I hadn't talked to that owner the entire year. I saw him the previous year, went up on stage, told him I was going to be in the top 5. And the next year, when I was in the top 5, I finished number 5, actually.
Barely got there.
Barely made it in, right? They heard my chinny chin chin. But what was so cool is that when I got up on stage and he introduced me, he actually let everyone know in that room, you know what, this guy came up to me last year at the end of the annual conference and told me he was going to be on this top 5 panel. And here he is, number 5.
That's awesome.
So that was the first level up where I knew that I could do this, and I knew I could be amongst the best.
That's awesome. I think that's you know, it's very, it takes a lot of courage to do that, you know, and it requires some things like commitment and focus, you know, because and it really challenges, you know, your character, right? Are you a man that does what he says he's going to do? And you know, a lot of times people talk about how, oh, I'm going to be like this or I'm going to be like that, and they don't do it. They don't understand the work that goes into it. What kind of work went into getting you there?
Man, I would say the desire for greatness.
Yeah.
My passion to be the best of the best was untouchable. It didn't matter what was going on in my life, because everyone has issues.
Right.
You know, I love that saying, hey, you got an issue, grab a tissue. You know, but you've got to learn how to have those issues on the pendulum swing not outweigh your work.
Right.
You've got to keep them balanced. And one thing I was really keen on is not bringing my anxieties or issues or stress factors or anything going on in life to work. When I was at work, that was my time to give everything. That was my time to leave it all out on the floor, to be playing at my top performance at all times.
Right.
You know, and I was really big on not allowing people to persuade me to do otherwise, because, you know, in the investment real estate world, or in real estate in general, it can be a fun culture, and people can get sidetracked with going to happy hour or you know, staying out late and not coming in the next day, and doing all that can really, you know, subsidize your performance and productivity for the following days. But I'd say, man, my biggest thing to overcome any type of adversity was, one, I'm so optimistic. Yeah. I only think positive. Yeah. I'm only thinking the best things. And two was to continue to be the best that I could possibly be. Right. I wasn't worried about the guy next to me. I wasn't worried about the girl next to me. Right. I was focused on what I could do and what I could do for the company.
That's awesome. And it sounds like, you know, since that happened, I'm sure your income changed, and you weren't having to you know, eat tacos from Jack in the Box anymore.
Yes.
Lifestyle was able to change a little bit there. And you know, I think that's a great experience. So what benefits, you know, came after, you know, just kind of shooting for the stars and actually hitting it? Like, you know, what were the things in your life that you were really thankful for and that kept you going?
Man, well, one thing I was really thankful for was just the respect from my family. Man, I was the black sheep growing up. Right. I mean, I'm all tatted. My first tattoo, I went home, my mom was like, oh, John David. But I think once, you know, joining any type of 1099 or just commission type of job, people have doubts. And some of the closest people to you will doubt you. Your friends, your family, right, your brother, your sister, I mean, your husband or wife even. Right. And once I started becoming successful in this industry, the respect that I started getting from my closest friends and family was probably one of the most rewarding things.
That's awesome.
Secondly, I was able to purchase my very first new truck. I bought a F-150, 2015.
Nice.
And
that one.
And you know what? At the time, I remember it being uncomfortably expensive. Not that I couldn't afford it, but it was making me a little uncomfortable. But I'll never forget, because of that purchase, it made me work harder.
Right.
I thought, you know what? I have a $600 a month truck payment now. I better work hard. And sure enough, it made me level up even more to where I was, the 2 years later in 2017, I actually purchased my first house.
Awesome.
And
that's great. Not many people get that far in their whole life.
Yeah, you know, it was I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity. I was able to purchase my own house, actually rehab it before moving into it. And then I actually was able to sell that house for a pretty big profit 2 years later.
Wow.
And it just, you know, it really cool.
Blessings,
yeah.
Blessings. A lot of work, a lot of commitment, man. And I think those are things that you know, you're grateful for and allowed you to thrive. So as you continued, you know, down that path and you know, what was the next level like? You know, what were the things that you needed to work on to get to the next level? What were the challenges that you encountered and you know, that kind of got you to where you're at today?
Yeah, well, you know, something I had to learn the hard way was that production doesn't equal leadership.
Right.
slowly but surely there were guys around me, moving into more leadership positions. And I thought, well, hey, I'm the top producer. Mm-hmm. I'm in the top 5 nationwide 4 years in a row. Yeah. Why aren't I the guy? Right. Something I had to physically and mentally do was mature. Right. And I would say mentally more, not physically so much, but mentally mature myself. And that went for, going out, hanging out with my friends till wee hours in the morning, doing stuff that most single bachelors, kind of do. Right. So I had to mentally mature myself, not only out and in my outside life, but also on social media. Mm-hmm. I love to post, silly videos and funny memes and probably not the most appropriate things at times, Right. But it took some growing up and some self-reflection to really look inward and say, hey, how do you really want to represent yourself? How do you want to be looked at? If someone were to just run into you at HEB and they don't know you, but they saw you from Facebook or a post, would it be good and positive? Right. Or would it be like, man, you were that guy that was really acting up?
You became aware of the image, right?
Absolutely.
Perceptions.
100%. Yeah, I sure did.
That's awesome. Well, I think self-reflection is really, really key to growth and leveling up, especially personally. A lot of times we can get caught up in doing well and making a lot of money, but sometimes money can be a bad thing. If we make too much of it, we don't know how to handle it. And I think a lot of times we have to reflect on, hey, what are my behaviors like? Where am I going? Which way am I going? And what needs to change so I can get, because I want more. I want to get to the next level, right? We all want to be bosses. We all want to be leaders one day, but what does it really take to be that, right? So, so you made it to a leadership position, and you're there now. You're managing a team, and this is the level up, where you're at, right? So, what does this current level look like, and what's it gonna take to get to the next level?
Man, well, this level I'm currently at started January 2020. Mm-hmm. Been here a little over a year now, about a year, and going into ending the 5th month here of May. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I had to learn to manage was people and their emotions. Mm-hmm. It's not every day that you can be as uppity and optimistic as me. Right. And there are real life issues. People do have issues within their family, at home. Mm-hmm. If I can help subsidize or manage those people's issues to be more positive mm-hmm. on the outlook in life, then that's what I want to do. But my main purpose when I became the manager mm-hmm. was I realized, now that I'm interviewing people, now that I'm hiring people, I want to be able to give people the same opportunity I was given back in 2012. Right. So my leadership now is really being available. Mm-hmm. Being extremely accountable. If I was not as available as I am, I mean, what kind of leader or coach would I be? Right. I preach that to my team all the time. Imagine if I wasn't in the office, or I didn't answer my phone, or I never texted you back, or didn't respond to that email. You'd probably be wondering, where's my coach? Yeah. Where's my leader at? Mm-hmm. So I'm really, really big on being available, and really, really big on being engaged with my team. I treat everyone with the same amount of respect. And I tell everyone too at times, there's not many people that I would actually just hang out with outside of work. Right. That doesn't mean that I don't love you in the office, but I've got a family now. I've got a wife. I got married.
You got a new level, new relationships.
new level. Just had a newborn May 3rd.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 12 days ago.
That is awesome.
Jonah Dean was born, man. Wow. Too cool.
What did that do to you, man? Just hit me. Man, that's your heart away.
No joke. Happiest time I've ever had in my life. It's just this feeling of like, did we really just bring a kid home? It's wild. It's a wild feeling. But it's a blessed feeling too. You know, God is so good, man. He's just always watching out, and always something too, you know, and I'll speak on it because, you know, this is outside of work kind of, but I'm really big into prayer, man.
Right.
Like, you've got to, you know, the more you ask, the more you shall receive type of mindset.
Right.
And the more you give, the more you shall receive.
Right.
It's not about, you know, lending money.
Right.
It's not about giving that. To, you know, I think a lot of people mix the saying of the more you give, the more you shall receive.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with money. It's time. Mm-hmm. It's availability. It's knowledge. It's education. It's love.
Right.
The more you give to all of those things, the more you will receive just inadvertently. You know, it all comes full circle. You know, like Justin Timberlake's song, what goes around comes around, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yes, sir.
And I think that with that mindset, you know, anything's possible. And, you know, I think because you have that mindset and been able to consistently change and use your words in a positive way and encourage people and build them up. I mean, it's had a positive impact on your life, allowed you to grow. So that's awesome. So, you know, you've done really well. You've made you made a name for yourself. You've changed your life, you know, and now there's a lot of people looking at you and you know, want to get to where you're at. You know, what advice would you give to somebody? What's the best advice you can give to somebody to level up and to keep leveling up?
Man, my best advice for anyone doing anything is don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't give up on yourself. Don't tap out. You know, the thing that breaks my heart the most is that some people just want instant success, and there's no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing. You know, I often find in my interviews when talking with people, you know, they've been doing something for a year or two, and then they jump to something else for a year, and then they jump to something else for a year or two. And what's crazy is in those 5 to 6 years, if they would have just stuck with the first thing, they'd probably have a management position by now. They'd probably would have leveled up and leveled up and leveled up within that company if they would have stuck with it.
Right.
I don't care if it's at McDonald's.
Right.
You stick with it in 6 years, you're probably a manager at McDonald's, maybe even a franchise owner.
Right.
Exactly. My biggest advice to anyone in work related anything is to just never ever give up on what you're doing. And to be honest, you know, this wasn't a passion off of, you know, from the bat. This was something that grew, and the bigger the snowball got, the bigger the snowball became my passion. You know, I don't think anyone joins a job and is just passionate about it. Right. It takes effort. It takes resilience. It takes adversity. You have to be able to just never ever doubt what you can truly do. Right. And people are going to doubt you, and you can get in your own head and think the worst of things, and you can think that people are against you, and you can really make yourself and only yourself tap out.
Right.
You know, and so my biggest advice to anyone is to stick with it. You know, don't give up. There's no such thing as an easy road to success. But if you stick with something 2, 3, 4 years down the road, I guarantee you will be way further than you ever thought you'd be after just quitting 1 year in.
That's absolutely right. That's awesome. Great advice, JD. I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, thank you for everything. Thank you for joining us today and getting on the show and sharing, you know, your story of leveling up and how you've grown. I think, you know, it's going to bring a lot of value to people out there in the world that are looking to advance themselves in life. You know, we often want things right away, and you said it, instant gratification, and it doesn't work that way. It takes time, it takes effort. There's a compound effect, and the only thing that you have to do is find the right business that works for you, that find the place that you can thrive in and that you can actually excel in, and that has that window of opportunity for growth. And once you find that, just keep going. And once you get to year 5, year 6, you keep going, right?
Just keep going.
Keep going. Then you get to year 10 and you're like, wow, how far did I come? And it's amazing. So great job, man. Thank you again. I appreciate you. I'm sure everybody's gonna be hitting you up after this for some advice.
Yeah, man, please do. I hope everyone, if you want to hit me up, shoot me a message or, text, whatever, and we can talk. And shout out to my wife, Faith, and my baby, Joe Nadine. I love you guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this second episode of Always Level Up. Hope you enjoyed the show. And if you like what you saw today, please like and subscribe. We have more guests coming on, and we will continue to keep the ball rolling. So have a wonderful day. And remember, always level up.